Paul Rudd and Emile Hirsch. We're here to talk about Prince Avalanche. Who would make a movie about guys that put the yellow lines on a road, and it's absolutely compelling and a must-see. So I loved it. And at first you're like, wow, they're really out in the middle of nowhere. Like, that's how they put the yellow lines on a highway. That's exactly how it works.
At least in the 80s, I guess.
Is it not done that way anymore?
It was an old machine. I think probably now it's on a truck that actually does it, but this was a hand, kind of like a self-contained unit that you push and hit a thing and it sprays it out.
And you actually obviously did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, badly, yeah.
And it is a buddy movie, kind of a bonding film set in, you know, after obviously the fires had taken out so much of that
Bastrop.
Right. That's where it was, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is about, I guess, yeah, about 30, 40 minutes outside of Austin, Texas. So it was in a park that had not, I think, less than a year previous to us shooting the movie, burned. It was really actually sad.
Well, I love that one thing when you're kind of, it's the weekend off and you just go in and you're camping and you come across that woman who seems a little out of it. We're not quite sure, is this going to be dangerous? And when she's looking through that ashes, or she's trying to find pieces in that house, and she's like, I feel like I'm digging through my own ashes.
Mm-hmm. Well, that woman lived there.
Right.
That was her house.
Right.
We found her. And she's a lovely lady. And
the actress, it was actually the woman?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when she said that, that's because that's the way she felt in real life. It was almost as if everything that she had experienced was documented in some way, in some piece of pottery or some slip of paper or something that was burned. She didn't know who she was because all of the stuff that proved who she was gone.
Well, that's kind of the theme for the movie, isn't it? I mean, your character, you're kind of starting over, basically.
Yeah, well, the way I viewed Lance is, even though he's still a really young guy, the city life that he lives in, he's kind of outgrown, but he doesn't really realize it. So he's coming up empty, and he's alone, and he's not emotionally satisfied. And so there's this frustration. Within his world, you know, he views himself as fat and old. It's ridiculous, but because with the young guys he hangs out with, that's who he is now.
I loved all the reference. Who's gonna like us? We're fat and old, and look at there's so many fat. I was writing that down. I was like taking notes when I was.
But that's just his limited perspective on life. You know, he really does feel that way, and within those people that he hangs around. You know, Alvin helps enable him to kind of find the tools, the emotional tools he needs to kind of go to that next level of maturity that he hopefully can. And I don't think there's the conclusion is not like, okay, now Lance is more mature at the end. I think you see just the very, you know, kind of like, you know, the shots at the end where it starts to grow back, and you just see the seeds are there. He's, you know, there's no overnight change with either one of them, but you see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel at least.
It's a beautiful movie. I loved it. It was just, it totally transported me. It did everything you're talking about with film. Took me into another place. Well done.
Thanks.
All right, guys.